Tired of paying high taxes in the EU? Many high net worth individuals are moving to tax-friendly jurisdictions. Here's where to go and how to do it all legally. Hi, my name is Rusudan. I have been a CFO at Nomad Capitalist for the last 4 years, helping high net worth individuals legally reduce their taxes, get second citizenships, and go where they are treated best. So today I want to dive into a very interesting topic of why people are fleeing EU due to the high taxes and the overall talk about the worldwide tax that we have been hearing from different EU countries. So I do think that it is an important decision, and it is a large number of countries that are facing this, and a large number of people that may very well bear the negative consequences of the high taxes that they are paying. If you're a wealthy person, it seems like the EU is kind of moving towards the direction where they want to control more of your wealth. And when there are options where you can have more financial freedom, why do you need to stay in the EU? Because there are some very good options for you to save some taxes and also maybe maintain the lifestyle or even get a better lifestyle that you are currently holding in the EU. So firstly, I want to dive into the reason and the problem that we are facing. We had lots of, like, for example, the recent comment from the French government and the bill that they are trying to pass, or the overall talk of taxing your worldwide income in the whole EU has definitely been very concerning to taxpayers in the EU. And we have lots of clients and increasing numbers of the clients from the EU where they are trying to plan ahead because you never know what's going to happen, and especially with these talks, it seems it's closer than before. And with our experience, we do know that there's no talk that doesn't bear into some kind of an action. So I do think that at some point in the future we will be seeing even higher rates in the EU, and what is better than to be prepared for that. So I do want to give you a bit more information about how to put yourself in a better position for when that happens, and maybe in some countries it is already happening. So I do think that it is important to start putting your plan together and implementing it as early as possible. The first thing that I would like to talk about regarding the EU taxes is that we had a number of people there's some kind of interpretation or consideration that if you leave EU, you have you cannot compare, you cannot have a lifestyle that you are used to maybe in those countries, and there are no options to go. Well, that is not correct. We've seen lots of people move from EU to, even inside EU, there are some tax preferential countries compared to other countries. For example, like lump sum tax in Italy, that may be something that could work for you. Malta is very tax friendly also. So there are options very close to the lifestyle that you are probably right now enjoying, and different from all that could be Singapore, maybe the place for you to go, or the UAE, because it is very tax friendly. And there are some different countries. There's a vast majority of new opportunities for you. And I do think that especially if you're moving as a person, and you do need to take your business into account. You do need to make sure that you living as a person, how does that affect your business? Do you need to move some of your business away? And maybe that could be a topic for our next video. But in today's video, we're going to be talking more about your personal side, where to move and how to move. The first thing that comes to mind when I'm thinking about this topic and what I would do if I was thinking about moving and taking that next step would be to seek the opportunities outside, but also to make sure, how does my country treat me when I am living? Because in some cases, we have some clients come to us and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pick my bags and I'm going to be out of this country. I can get a ticket real soon. That is not the only thing that you need to do. Unfortunately, you do need to go through a lot of paperwork in some cases, and also in some cases you need to pay some tax when you are leaving the country. So there's a specific process country by country, but in most cases you need to inform your country and your tax authority that you are no longer going to be a taxpayer. You are moving out of the country, and settle all the final tax bills that you have in that country. And that is a very important step that I've seen a lot of people miss. And with that, that doesn't go away. If you don't do that now when you're living, and you have, for example, moved from one country to another, you are enjoying your tax-free or very tax preferable beneficial jurisdiction. At some point, it will pop up where you have not settled the bill. Maybe even during the process of moving to another country and applying for another tax residency will maybe be more difficult because you have not settled your tax bills in your home country. So I do think that it is very important. It can be a bit long, but it is straightforward. You inform them, you do what needs to be done on that side to make sure that you are clear and you are starting from a clean slate in the other country. Now, the next step is to after you've made the choice of where you're going, you also need to establish ties there, like apply for the tax residency, open the bank account, like do lots of things that kind of connect you to that country. And one thing that people sometimes miss is that when are you considered a taxpayer in this certain country? Because in most countries, it's like a days test, right? In some countries, it can be 183 days. If you spend this amount of the out of the year, this amount of days in this country, you're going to be deemed a taxpayer there. So I do think that it is important to check that and make sure that you are complying with the requirements. And like the first step to that is having a record of where you spend your days in, because if you are a nomadic person and you travel a lot, I know that I've had this conversation with some of our clients where they are like, I travel so much, I don't have a recollection of where I spent all of my days. And you write down like a simple calendar system of where you spend your time could be very helpful in this situation to make sure that you also like know that you're not overstaying in some countries or like understaying in some countries. And also to, if there are any questions from the government authorities, you have an answer, you have proof, yes, I had this, yes, I have the ticket that I left at a certain time. So it is very important to kind of keep track of that. I'm not saying if you're like only traveling between like, I don't know, 2-3 countries and kind of spending 4 months there, 4 months there, 4 months there, which like be careful, is it enough for your tax residency? But if you're like traveling a bit more, spending a couple of days in one country and then moving from one to another, it is very important to keep track of that. The other thing regarding becoming a tax resident in a new country is like the paperwork. Nobody likes it, but you do have to provide everything. It can take some time, quite some time, and it is sometimes the step that most people like would prefer to skip, which I don't recommend. I've seen like negative effects of that, and I've seen how like lengthier the process becomes when you do not provide all the documents right on time. And I do want to go back to leaving the country. It is also very important, besides like all the paperwork and the formal side with the government tax agency in most cases, you also need to make sure that you kind of clear out all the assets that you have. You close your bank account, you move your funds out of the country. I mean, in some cases, you can maintain some of it if you want to diversify, but it is like you have to be sure that you've done all the minimum things that you have to do. You have the minimum balance if that's allowed, or you have sold your property, or you're not maintaining something in your home country that triggers or like not severs the ties for your tax residency. In some cases, like maintaining a physical address could be an issue because in some cases, if you're a taxpayer, they require you to maintain a physical address in a new country. So like those small details, like holding a PO box, is it okay? Those are small details that I don't think that people necessarily think about when they are making such a big decision and a big move. But when you like make a choice and you are actually starting to do take the steps necessary to move from one country to another, it is very important to follow through all the small details. And I think that those like small ties that we do not think that we are maintaining with a country, especially when you have lived your whole life in that country, that could kind of pop up somewhere in the future and be an issue. So think ahead and take all the necessary steps to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. There are also a couple of challenges of like moving to another country and moving your tax residency to another country. The first one that comes to mind is, of course, like language barriers. So if you're moving to a non-English speaking country, you have to be aware that like maybe your day-to-day life can become a bit more difficult, or maybe you choose to learn a new language, and that can definitely be of help. One other thing that I've seen become a struggle is when you actually live in a new country, you are sometimes like not aware of all the formalities, like even like setting up the utilities and changing that to your name, or maybe just registering somewhere to show that you have become a resident or you are residing at a specific address, that can be of a challenge because not every country is structured the same, and those formalities can vary from one country to another. So I would definitely check, like I would kind of make a list of like, okay, I'm a person, I live in a country, what do I need? So I need a bank account, I need utilities, I need an address, I need something for the mailing. Those type of small details that you do not pay attention to your home country, it takes quite some time or some like effort for you to kind of establish in a new country. So pay attention to that. One note that I wanted to also add is that if you think that you're traveling a lot, you can also there are some apps that help you track where you've spent most of your time and just track your like travel to make sure that you are in compliance with all the day tests that you could be facing when you're traveling in different countries. To wrap it up, I would say that we see a lot of people leaving EU, and I do think that they have a very valid reason, and even if it doesn't like touch you right now, the direction that the EU is going from the tax perspective point of view is definitely very concerning. And I do think that we've seen a lot more than enough examples in the whole world where like all these talks actually became the reality for some people, where the recommendations that some parties were making seemed a bit absurd, but they were actually becoming a law, and then you have to actually comply with that. So I do think that it is a very good time, even if it's not like in some cases it can be late, but it's never too late to take action and plan your better future and save some taxes. And if you do want to know more about this, you can always go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, and we will be more than happy to help you with this.
This is how to live like a king in Medellin.
This is Medellin like you've never seen it before.